Hello again, dear friends. Welcome back to the third and final part of this masterclass with me, Paddy Bird, on Shotflow, brought to you with our friends over at Adobe. So this is the exciting part. We're going to put all of this theory together and we're going to do it all in a live cut. So all of the things we talked about in the first two parts around reverse domino theory, looking at the horizontal line on the timeline in terms of pictures, in terms of B-roll and images, looking at it as a grid. You know, there's a connectivity between one another. We're looking at these factors that control and constitute and make up shot flow. You've got continuity, you've got frame size changes, reverse domino theory. You've got things like the camera movement that is allowed to stop or start around the incoming or outcoming shot, and also the action that happens inside the shot, inside the frame, whether it's an object, whether it's a person, whatever it is. So we want to make this as fluid as possible. We want to cut out all the erroneous, all the kind of mistakes, all the bad camera movement. We want to, put these shots together on the timeline in a way that has visual grammar, that has this fluidity that you find in shot flow by ironing out everything so it looks smooth. Now, just to reiterate again, can we bend a lot of these rules? Of course we can. And then when you get into like pace and timing and things like that later on, this is when you'll start manipulating what's going on around those cutting points. Like, for example, if you want to speed something up, you will basically condense the space around the essential action at the end and at the start of a shot. Look at any kind of very high speed kinetic action sequence. The essential action that happens, like say a punch in a fight scene or a car, a camera movement in a car chase or something like that, the essential action is compressed. And what do I mean by that? It means there's no space allowed. They don't punch, stop for the punch, and then you cut. It's like the punch, and just before the actual punch happens, or the fast camera movement or bit of action or whatever it is, that is cut off just around or just before the time it ends. So there's no space, there's no extra after the essential shot has happened. And you build a kind of kinetic rhythm for that in things like pace and timing. But that's way ahead. That's we're in assembly stage at the moment now. We're just putting these things together to see how they cut, and we're concerned with shot flow. Later on, we can start bending and shaping and shifting time and compressing time for things like that. But just for now, we got to get these basics right. So let's think about all the things we looked at in part 1 and part 2, and now let's take them into a live cut. So I've just got some raw footage here of our photographer Anthony. Let me just scan through this. I've got about 10 minutes of raw footage. You probably won't have the time to go through all of that, but you'll start to see the thought process that an editor has when they're cutting down, cutting out, and trying to get shot flow going on the timeline. So let's just I always have a quick scrub across just to see, okay, look at all these different frame sizes. This is the action. He's basically packing up his camera bag and his suitcase. He's going off to a shoot. I think he's going off to a shoot in Venice, Italy, or Paris or something like that. And so I'm making some observations about the action. I'm not seeing all the shots in real time, but I certainly have an idea about the location, the type of shots, the kind of chain of action. This is what we were talking about in the previous session. This idea around sequential, not illustrative, sequential images. So there's basically one big piece of action here, which is Tony is packing up all his equipment, and he's packing up his suitcase and his clothes, and then there you go, and he's getting up, and then he's going out the door. I think that's in the next set of raw footage. So that's the kind of larger pictorial arc of what's going on. But you can see that the camera operator has broken down each one of these, probably hundreds of little movements into different frame size changes, little bits of actions that makes up that sequential picture arc into lots and lots of different shots. Now, some of them have zooms on, some of them have different frame sizes, some of them have camera movement. And obviously, sometimes there's really big action going on inside the frame, and sometimes there's not. There's more illustrative stuff going on inside the frame. But essentially, this is, 10 minutes of raw footage of one bit of action happening, and the camera operator is breaking it down into dozens and dozens of little shots, and it's up to us to choose the best ones that compress that down with good shot flow. We can't show a 10-minute raw footage scene. Who's going to watch that? No one's going to watch it. So our job as editors is to compress down the essential action into a dramatic pictorial arc that has good shot flow. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this down on the timeline. There we go. What have we got? About 10 minutes. So I'm literally in this first initial stage. All I'm doing is just, let's zoom in a bit. I'm going through and I'm cutting out what I like. Sorry, cutting out what I don't like and leaving in what I like. And then making sure that when those first draft of that has good shot flow on the timeline. So, do I like this shot?
I hope they got some good internet.
Not really. It's very short. It's probably just a setup shot. This is kind of interesting. Okay, that's nice. What do I like about this? Starts here. Where's the essential piece of action here? Tony grabs that pen. I could probably come in about there. So let's cut that out. So we're going to come here. Camera's going to move up. Camera's going to move round. And where's the natural out point here? Where he's picking up his computer. So let's just zoom forward and seeing what's happened there. Okay, so we haven't got a continuation of the computer, so I don't really need that in there. So let's just find a nice out. Maybe there. Or there. Now, if I open this up here in terms of like allowing the audience to start seeing a piece of action which will not pay off later, I'm going to create questions. So I'm just going to come out at an earlier stage and then just pan over there, bang. I'm going to use the cut point just after he bangs the papers on the table. That's a nice out. Okay. So let's just continue. Don't want any of this. Don't want any of this. The shot's going to change. Okay. Is this interesting? You got a sort of longer shot here. It's a mid, but it's from a long focal point. Where are we? Is this interesting? No, it's kind of similar to the previous shot. We got to zoom in here. Do I like anything so far? That's kind of a nice movement there. I like that. So maybe I'll start just before he leans down, just before the essential action starts. There we go. Now let's look at those two together. There we go. There's a nice fluidity to that. Picking that up and out. I think I'm going to go there. That's one possible place. Let's see what happens after that. Now, this is a long... I could wait till he's turned and then cut to the zoom out. Let's see what happens there. Wait for the shot to steady. See, there's a bit of movement there. We don't want any of this messiness here. We want to limit the amount of messy camera work. So let's just see how that cuts together. It might work, might not. And there we go. We've pretty much got a kind of drama cut there. There's enough of a similarity between those two there. Drama cut, like, your outgoing and incoming shots. There's a continuity of action across there. What we usually do, not in drama, but certainly in non-scripted, is that as you see, what we did there is we cut out this very quick crash zoom. The crash zoom is a very well used thing in non-scripted because the camera operator will look to see if a person is doing some kind of action, and if that action is quite long, as in over a second, they'll wait to a certain point within the action, then crash zoom out or crash zoom in, so that it looks like you have a drama cut. So then when you can cut that out. Sometimes in reality TV they don't cut that out. It's part of the style, but it allows us to cut that out like that. And look, there's a very similar look at the body position and look at the hand position. It's as though we've got two camera sizes, two cameras shooting there, a mid and a wide shot. So that kind of works. And look at the shot flow. I'm going from close to wide. I like that. So where do I want to come out on this? He's doing all this. Oh, there's something happening here. That's kind of interesting. And the camera goes down and okay, it goes up again. I like, let's change because we've got a new piece of information in the background here. Look at all this. This is very similar. You can see, look at the predominant amount of the background. It's this sort of bleached out window. So I want to go to something new in the background. So there's nice movement here. Plonk. I'm going to come in there. I'm going to come out there. That's nice. So the last frame of this shot is the last thing people are going to see before we cut to the next shot. Where that next shot starts, I don't know yet, but let's have a look. Because I'm constantly thinking about shot flow. I'm constantly thinking about new content within the image, new frame size within the image, and potential continuity that goes across, like the cable thing that we just saw, that goes across these two cuts from the outgoing to the incoming. So this is the same. Do I like this? Is this interesting? Yeah, it's kind of interesting little movement. Am I going to keep this in later on when I start chopping things up and putting dialogue in and music? I don't know. I don't know that yet, but what I'm doing is I'm basically filtering down through a process of initial shot flow into the shots that I kind of like. I'm getting rid of probably 10, 20, 30, 40% of something out of the raw rushes. And that's the key thing that we want to do at this stage. So I kind of like this. This is, look at that. We've got a slight pull focus. Maybe we could start on the pull focus. That might be something quite nice. Let's put that in there. 1, 2, 3, and then what happens? Oh, well, then we go up. That's nice. So we've got some camera movement right at the end. Let's just check that. 2, 3, move up. Great. So I will look at what's coming up here. Oh, no, there's a little... What's going on there? There's a little move. There's two moves. So that's a classic piece of correction that I would probably take out because it kind of impedes the quality of the camera work. So I'd go up and then out. I wouldn't come up for the second one. So that's a tiny little mistake I'd cut out. Okay, so what's going on here? And then we've got another one here. So where are we going? Now this could look like a jump cut if I put this in here. Let's have a look. Okay, so that's kind of nice, but it is a kind of jump cut. It's a very, very similar frame size. The character occupies this kind of third of the frame. We could keep it in for stylizational purposes if the kind of project we're working in would allow jump cuts, or we could not. So I'm just going to leave that in there for now. Maybe I'd cut out this shot or this part of the shot. I don't know. It depends what I like later. Okay, we're out there. Here we go. Look at this. Let's wait till the action's finished. Mark an in point, and everything else is kind of going there. Now, have I had enough of this? Is it interesting? We're just seeing more of the same stuff. That's a really good question to ask ourselves. If you've got repetitive things going on within the raw footage, like 10 different versions of the same thing, you're not going to be able to put that in. You're going to have to choose the best looking one, the nicest one, the one that has the biggest, nicest amount of action or whatever that particular thing is out of the 10. The one that has the, if they're all the same, just choose one or choose the two best ones and get them down on the time, or allow them onto the timeline before you start, piecing your sequence together. But you can't have 10 of them in there. And, camera operators like to give us options, which is lovely. Okay, so this is kind of boring. I'm not interested in here. And there's obviously a repositioning going on. So what's going on here? Let's wait. And then there's a zoom in and a quick darting tilt down.
Put that back in again. Sorry, mate.
Then we got some the camera operators giving the character direction.
Just put that back in again. Sorry, mate.
And this is a classic scenario when the camera operator is jumping around in a non-scripted environment. If they don't catch the shot of a piece of action that's going on, they might often say, "Can you just do that again?" or "Start that action again." It's very common. Changing the exposure. He's got a tennis ball in there. I don't know what he's got a tennis ball in there for. Okay, I don't think he even heard. Okay, so that's nice action. He's opening up his bag, and we've got a kind of pull focus at the start, and we've got some nice quick action with the hand. So look, we've got a massive amount of, massive amount here of unwanted content. Let's get rid of that. See, here we go. Bang. All right. Do I like this? Nice. And opens up and then out. Okay, not much going on here. Let's move to something different. What's the different next frame size? What's the interesting next piece of action? What am I doing that is, what's coming up that's really kind of new and shows me this progress within the pictorial arc? Not that interesting. Yeah, there's nothing much going on here. Okay, and there's some, we've got some clothes here. That's kind of nice. Look at that. That's a really nice shot. So there's clothes on the bed. So we've got a steadying of the action there. I think that's kind of nice there. Let's come in there. And then we've got this zoom out while we've got a lot of things going on. There's a zoom out while the character's taking the clothes and a quick pan over. And another one. Bang. That's a nice piece of action. Bam, bam, bam. That's really, really nice. It's quite long, but there's a lot we can take out of that. Do we need more? Where do I want to come in here? I think we should come in right on the last one. This is a classic example. I've got 1, 2, 3 beforehand. Do I need all of them? It's going to slow down the shot maybe. We've already got more of this in. We can keep our options open if we want. But let's just have a look. So look, I've come out on Tony patting down the clothes. And then I come straight back in here. So that's really nice shot flow. That works really well. You've gone from a sort of high angle, mid to more closer shot, but it's similar to the shot where it started here. I don't know if I'd start in that late, but we'll leave it in for now. And again, it's a kind of replication of what's before. And look, what's happening here. This is all kind of a lot slower actually, and Tony's action, there's a lot of pauses in between the different action. That's nice. So let's come in and find a new out. It's not as clean and quick as the previous one. Bang. Let's come out there because this felt all a bit, then he's adjusting this and it's all a bit messy. So let's come out there. We want to compress dead areas within the action. And we're obviously going to cut from this shot here to a closer one. There you go. And that's nice. That's a nice, quick little piece of action. Really, really nice.
1 second. Just put that back in.
And then there's all this. We've got some repositioning. Oh, that's quite a nice head move. We could cut that in because obviously it replicates that head move, replicates the movement of the camera. So we've got a very quick left to right. So we could kind of use that at some point. So I'm looking for these kind of patterns in the shot flow, in the action and stuff like that as I'm cutting this down. Okay, we've got some camera direction there from the camera plate, but doesn't matter. We could strip that out later. Oh, and we've got a zoom as he turns as well. That's kind of nice. So we could create a kind of little drama sequence there. We got two shots. We got this shot, and then we got two versions of this shot. So later on, I'm thinking, yeah, that might be nice because I've essentially got a high angle shot of this and then a lower angle shot of the action. So I could cut around that. Okay, so there we go. We've cut a minute. Let's just watch that through and see how we like it in terms of shot flow. Should we watch it full screen? Let's watch it full screen, shall we? Okay. 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 There we go. So we can see that is a first attempt, a really good first attempt at looking at all of these different issues around shot flow. I'm filtering these thought processes, these 3 or 4 or 5 different considerations of reverse domino theory, of continuity, of looking at a grid, this horizontal grid, and how the action is playing out over these over the pictorial arc within the raw footage. I'm cutting out all the things that I don't want. I'm compressing the time down so that, we've got very few examples of the same thing. And I'm looking to see how these cut together, what the movement's like, how quick it is, and all these kind of things. So this is a first draft assembly of something which I would take later into into a rough cut. So understanding the principles of shot flow is one of the key fundamental things within the early stages of editing, how we actually cut these shots together. So get some raw footage, something like this, something that's not too demanding, and start looking at these principles of the pictorial arc. You're telling a story, a progressive story in pictures. Look at how the shot and frame sizes are cut together, how you're progressing the story over them. Look at the action within the actual shots that happen over time. Make sure that is playing out, and you make the action stop before the end of the cut and then start coming into the cut. And also the same with the camera work. If there is camera work, a nice tilt, let that end or let that start and the start and the end of a shot to the outgoing and the incoming, to let it pause so that you have this fluidity. Of course, we can go and compress and change that later on. But in order to practice shot flow, we just got to learn how to do these clean movements, these clean pieces of action, these clean frame size changes, to get that kind of base level of understanding of how a large part of sequences are cut together. So I really hope you've enjoyed this set of masterclasses about shot flow with me, Paddy Bird. If you want to learn, if you like these kind of theories, these creative theories which we teach inside the edit, we don't teach anything technical at all. All of our theories that we teach on all of our courses are all 100% creative. They teach you how to be a better editor, how to create pace and timing, how to use music, how to structure narratives, how to connect dialogue, with images and things like that, how to intercut, all of these things that actually clients want outside of you knowing the software. So come and visit us at insidetheedit.com or listen to our podcast, Once Upon a Timeline, wherever you listen to podcasts. But I want to thank you for joining me And I wish you the very best on your editing journey. Take care.